It goes like this. It's a Chinese proverb. Man takes a drink. The drink takes a drink is the next stage, and then the drink takes the man, and so, or woman. So this is the way of addiction. First we're in control. Man takes a drink, woman takes a drink. Then the drink takes a drink. So that now we're building tolerance, and so now, it's something we have to do. And then the drink takes the man, and so we've lost total control. And so the continued use of it is another important issue of addiction. In spite of adverse consequences like deaths, losses in our lives, relationships, work, etc., we're not functioning properly on a daily basis. We're not meeting our responsibilities, etc. These are all signs of that an addiction is present, that you have lost control. You no longer have liberty, and the important things that to you now are things that you can't meet deadlines, etc., and going to work hungover repetitively, etc. These are all signs of having an addiction. And so it involves denial, big time. There's a lot of lying going on. Denial is another word for lying. Denying to yourself that you have a problem is a form of lying. And and we all to some degree do this, but we the more we're going to be growing in light and love and power, and the more in Christ-likeness, the more we're going to just be honest and admit we have a problem, and never mind the denial, the hiding and the covering up and all that, just bring it out into the light. And so that right there, bringing it out into the light, is a major way of dealing with addictions. And a major fundamental thing with the 12-step groups and programs that work, because people come out and they admit they have a problem publicly. And they have a lot of people there who are also in varying stages of working on addictions, whatever it might be, whatever the addiction might be. And watch out that you don't replace an addiction with an addiction. Just to know the process of attachment and addiction is what I'm trying to get across here. And so another sign of it is habituation and tolerance developing. In other words, you have to take more of it in order to get to normal. In order to get the normal feeling good, or to the normal relaxation, if that's what you're taking it for, well, you have to take more and more and more just to feel normal. And so increasing obsession with it, the thinking about it, first thing, making plans. Your life becomes more and more planned around the addiction, and it becomes a compulsion. It becomes something like it is like not led. You're not led anymore by your own will, desires, etc. You're now compelled. You're now driven. And this is now a driving force in your life, and so there's a stress and a pressure to do it. It's no longer, that's what I mean by tyranny, it's no longer freedom. You're no longer free. You're losing your freedom. That's what's happening. And becoming enslaved. And so this happens over more and more areas of your life, your work life, your relationships, etc. As I said, the spiritual root of it is unhealthy attachment, idolatry, unbelief, a lack of faith. For whatever reason, in God is the beginning of all sin or error. In the original language, sin means error. So this means that your judgment is going to be going off because you're no longer in truth, so your judgment is no longer accurate. It's like I heard once, sin going off into error it's another word for it is missing the mark, like a bullseye. And so sin in the Bible is like a pilot going a degree off. So if you mean to go to Chicago, you're going to China. If you're even a degree off as a pilot, if your thinking's wrong, if you're in error, if you make one tiny error, you're going to end up way on the other side of the world, away somewhere you don't even want to be. And so you're going to end up reaping death and a harvest of death or loss, instead of what it is you're trying to, most people have a misguided sense of trying to, what they're trying to do is go for pleasure, go for life, but actually insidiously this thing is taking you into error and denial, deception, and all that stuff. Usually people don't realize it until they're really hooked, that they really have a problem. They really have a problem now, and it's life-threatening at that point often, because it's really got a physiological hold in the brain. And I'll be talking about the physiology of it in a minute. But the symptoms, of course, are loss of control, obsession, ruminating, and compulsion, which I've already defined what those are, unable to quit, denial, rationalizations, excuses, etc., failure in daily life and responsibilities, and continuing that addiction, no matter what it is, people even smoking with cancer, regardless of the adverse consequences the behavior, the addiction's having and the behavior, it continues. So now the drink's taking the man, or the cigarette's taking the man, or whatever blank you want to fill that in with. That addiction is taking that person. That addiction is now in control of this person. And so a silly weed, for example, if it's smoking, is what's ruling the person. And I know this as an ex-smoker, and I've overcome it. But you have to be vigilant once these pathways are there, these learning pathways. If you even have one, you'll go right back to the same place very quickly of addiction that you were at. So it doesn't matter that you may have quit for years. You'll go right back to being a pack a day, or a 12 beers a day, or whatever your addiction was for alcohol. So addictions, we'll be talking about that too. Abstinence is critical to starve it out. And so the types of addiction is there's substance abuses, there's abuses. You can get addicted to just about anything. You can get addicted to exercise, anything out of proportion. You can get addicted to relationships. That's called codependencies. You can get addicted to anything, anything that will give you pleasure or avoid pain. The brain can get addicted to that. It's called the addicted brain versus the normal brain. And I'm going to give you a reference for a good video to watch on that. Excellent video. And so people often will, not understanding this, will replace one addiction with another. But you have to be careful when you're replacing that you also are able to be free, be in the emptiness and be free and not fill that up totally with everything, but to get used to being free, because that empty feeling is actually freedom. An addict who's not used to this, who's used to the confines of the prison cell, is suddenly they're free. Well, it's just going to feel like emptiness. But to get comfortable with some degree of liberty and freedom and empty spaces, to know that that's normal, that you don't have to fill everything up all the time with something else. To get comfortable again with having liberty and spaciousness of thoughts and feelings, and not always having to fill up your life. That's an addictive, compulsive way of being. That's a driven way of being. So the cure for this is grace, which is freedom, liberty, and no pressure. And you can get a lot more done that way, being on filled with abundant life, because your habits are healthy, and you're under grace, than you'll ever get done driven, having heart attacks doing it. And so addiction